Can we start, sir?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay. Okay. So now the next discussion will be on how APIs are being handled in Python, and I'll show you how to make a simplest API using something called as fast API. So API handling, I'll quickly go through the API. What is API? Many of you are knowing about what is API. API is the application programming interface through which any of the application can be uh, called, or you can hit that API and get the uh, results from that, right? But it is not all about that in previous days, like uh, in a very old era where we were not having API concept. There we were living with something called as monolithic architecture, if any of you know or aware about it. Monolithic architecture. Now, what do you mean by monolithic architecture? Monolithic architecture is what? That your front end and back end both are tightly coupled, and you have one directory in which front end is also there, through which the application can use that front end. Back end is also there in the same directory, and both are very tightly coupled, right? And that's how the front end and the back end was able to access. So we were able to access the back end through this monolithic architecture. So we know that front end is the UI, from where the request will go to the back end, right? And back end, we have some database, right? So we are not able to connect to the database directly, right? So in that case, we have certain endpoints. So API is providing that interface. Or very simple example is the restaurant example, where your waiter who is taking the order, it is coming up with some menu, and you have to order from that menu only. That is the compulsion for that restaurant. So that is what is API documentation. So API documentation means what? That you have a certain rules which you have to follow to work with that API, right? So you order some food from that, and the waiter will take that order, will go to the kitchen. Now kitchen is your backend. It will prepare the order, right? And it will get once the dish is ready, it will serve you that dish. That is backend, right? Now uh, these APIs are being made, like in Flask you can make the API. There is a new concept which is very important concept, which is fast API, right? Fast API is very much popular in machine learning and deep learning frameworks, like wherever you are having any AI based endpoints, like uh, in normal application what you have is in normal application you have something like this, where you have a front end, you have a backend, and you have some database, right? Now front end is made in some Python, backend is made in some Java, right? And the database is being accessed through the backend, right? So here you have a API. So here you have written some kind of function which will call to this database and get the answer. Now this is in normal software application. In machine learning, deep learning case, you have, instead of database, you have certain model. Suppose prediction model. Prediction in terms of what? You give the feature values. So there is something like uh, uh, I made one application which is Nikunj uh, and then I will give the endpoint. Let's say endpoint is predict. So when it will hit to that predict is requiring some kind of feature values. It will take those feature values, ask the question to the model, means it is going to the backend, and backend will ask the question to the model, which is floated by the user. The feature values are taken by the model. It will predict some prediction. The answer will again go back to the backend, and backend will give back that answer to front end, and that is through something called as API. All the APIs are having language JSON, almost 99% of cases, right? That is a universal format. Okay, and that's why we have this structured output. Pydantic is also very famous. And no matter in what framework your front end is built, no matter in what framework your backend is built, no matter you are using Android device or mobile, you are using iPhone. So for every case, you have different framework that has to be taken into the consideration, right? But API solves this problem by it is not allowing this database or model to be accessed or exposed publicly. It can be accessed to the through the API. So even the application owner has to access the API to access this model, and even public can access this model through API, right? So in this is what is the API is all about, right? Now API, I can directly start with the discussion that what is API and how to handle it through Python. So for which I will open one free API ka portal where you can just play with these APIs and the response. So this is the free API portal where you have all the things which you can play with, right? So like get the user data. So this is how you can give the fetch request, right? Get a random user. So this get user will give you the list of the users and information about each of them. Get a random user is it will give you the random user from the list of the users, and you can just find out the information about that user through Python, right? So just we have to input this kind of API into it. So this is how you can access. So for which you know there are different things which are there, different method that you to have for. So which are those methods? So methods are get, post, put, delete, right? So get means get the data, fetch the data. Post means insert the data. Put means update the data, and delete means delete the data. So this is how there are different methods which it is following. So here the library which you are using is request library. So we are using this request library which is used for getting the data and connect with the endpoint which you are giving. So here what is the URL which I am passing is this one, which is same as this URL. User random data. So here if I go to this is what is the API which I have passed over here, right? Now if I just open this response, this is how it looks like in JSON. And when you parse this JSON in Python, it will give you the dictionary because it is JSON is almost like key and value ka format, right? So what you can do is just for the confirmation, I can just copy this code, this response, JSON response. So if you hit this API, you will get JSON response. I'm just copying it and putting it inside JSON formatter. So here I will just upload this data, right? And here I can find out the tree structure of this. So here, this is in the tree structure. The format, this JSON format is now shown in terms of tree form. You can have a code, you can have a form, you can have a text, tree. So you can just observe that how it is actually. Now this we will confirm through this Python code also. So here the request library is used. We are just using this get request. So it will be fetched, and then we can print, we can take this data to the JSON format data. And when we print the length of this data, it is showing that 4. Now if I go to the JSON formatter, it is showing 4, right? So just you can confirm that what kind of objects are there and what are the values of what are inside this. Inside object you have data, message, status code and success. These are the 4. Right? So same way you will be able to get this over here. Now if you want to print those objects which you are able to observe it over here, you just have to write keys, because these are your keys and all these inside it are your values, right? All these are your values. So if I just find out the keys, these are your keys, right? Now if I want to print anything inside this key which is a value, let's say from these keys I am interested in data, you can simply, like pandas, how you do data, it will just print whatsoever is there inside this data. So you have gender, name, location, you have email, gender, location, ID, everything, right? Then email, login, username, everything you will be able to see inside the particular key. Now let's say my requirement is to have email ID, gender, country, username and full name. I want to get these data only, right? So how to get this? Now where it is, right? So what you need to do is you have to find out where these keys are. So what I'm doing is, I know there is something called as user data. User data is what? This is what is my user data, which is from this data object, this one, in which I am having what? I'm having email ID, gender, country. I just need to find out of these how many information is available from user data, right? Right. So it will be able to print these keys. Inside it, what is the key? Just we are printing it. Success is also one of the key. And in success, we have two things only, Boolean, true or false. Right? You can see this, true and false. So this is what is, just play with it. Now inside user data, there is something called as location. Location. So inside location, you have all this information from which we are interested city. Not city, sorry, country. We are interested in country. Right? So what you can do is, again, you found that there is something called as country inside this, right? So what you can do is you can just take and get the things out of it. Now, let's say there is something called as full name. Now, full name is where the full name is. Inside name, you have first, last, and title. I want this to be combined, first and last. So I will do some appending at the last. But first, I need to get this data. through the Python. So what I will do is I will define something called as get user data function. Let's do it in the function form. And here I am passing this data dictionary, right? Now inside data, this is what is my just check I am performing, that whether the function is going right or wrong. So just I am printing success, right? Uh, then I am taking the user data which I done over here, same thing, right? So now I'll start fetching the info from the key value. Email ID. Email ID is there in user data, obviously. Email ID is there in the user data. This is your user data, inside which we have a email ID. Gender is there in the user data. Yes, gender is there in the user data. Country is there in user data, but it is there in location. So location is a key. So this is a location, right? Location, right? And then country. Same way, username is there in login field. Where is login? Login is there over here, and in login we have username, right? So username, you can just have a username and the name, right? So username is there, then name. What is that name? Name is the full name. Now I told you, name, full name if I want to get, I need to go in name, and in that you have three fields: first, last, and title. So first name and last name I need to combine. So what I'll do, user data, go into the name, get the first, plus append some space, and user data name last. So what it will do is it will just append this and make a full name. Right. Get over here, you can make a dictionary of that. So user dictionary, email ID, gender, country, just make a dictionary and return that user dictionary. So when this function will be called, first URL, from the URL, the keys and the values will be fetched. Whatever is the required field will be first gathered. Then you make one dictionary where you keep all these things which you get from the URL, and you return that dictionary once this function is being called. So when I run this function, I am getting this kind of thing, which I am interested. Now see name, Eliza, and the surname. Right. This is how you get and fetch the content from the API. Now you can make a data frame out of it. So here you have, now I'm going to use pandas because I am interested to make a data frame of this data which I am gathering from the uh, API. So again the URL, same URL. Now here I am passing this function called as hit API. In hit API, first is my endpoint from which I need to gather the data, and this is the number. Now this is the number means how many times this API will get, I want it to hit, how many times I want it to hit. Suppose I want to hit it 3 times. So what it will do, this function will be called 3 times. It will hit that API 3 times, and every time it will get some user data, right? What user data? I want the data which is like this, right? Okay. So let's understand this. This is the function which is called URL is the endpoint. Number of times you want to hit that API, which is the sample size. Now you make an empty list in which you are going to append every time the API will be hit. It will give you the JSON response, and it will pass in terms of dictionary, and it will fill this empty list one by one. So for I in the range of that is a loop, get the URL, fetch the URL. Now there is a check over here. It may happen that the response from that URL you are not getting. Now there are some status codes which are there when you talk about response of the API. Once the response will come from the server or backend, there are some status codes which are there. Which are those status codes? Those status codes only, like some of the status codes are very much important that you need to understand. So those codes are uh, very simple codes which are like 200. So these are the response codes. So something like 1xx, information in process, successful response, redirection, errors like 400, bad request. So you should know this 2xx code, and you should be knowing 4xx, that is client error and successful responses. If you know these two, that is okay. No need to worry about the server errors, right? So in this, if your response is not 200, your successful response code is 200. The request was successful and the server has returned the requested data. So in this, it will return the response. It will, if it is not returning the response, could not connect to the API, break, it will come out of the loop, again hit the API, right? And once it will get the 200, means it will not consider this, and it will get the data in the JSON format, right? And then you can append this in the empty list which you have declared over here as an empty list, right? So if you hit this 3 times, you will get the 3 times. Now once you get this DF users, which is API response, you can directly convert it into data frame through something like this, pd.dataframe, which you are already aware about. Maybe in the previous sessions pandas was taken. So in that you have data frame, how to convert data frame into data frame, how to convert from data frame, you might be knowing or aware about it. So pd.dataframe, it will convert whatever you get it from API into the data frame. Now you can play it with like you do in the pandas. Very simple. You can find out this is exploratory data analysis you can do. Find out any duplicate values are there in this. Like I perform the hit 3 times, and 3 times I am getting different user data. So there is no duplicate. So I am getting the 0. If there are duplicate, then we can remove that, or we will not include that in the response. So we can have a data frame without any kind of duplicated values. That is for get. Now there is something called as post. So again, you can go to this portal, and there is something called as post request. Post means when you enter anything, or you update the data at the not update, you make a new entry into the server or backend, like a new entry in database. You have to perform post request, right? So this is how it looks like, right? So once the server will respond, it will tell you status code 200. It is a post request. All the headers. This is called as the header. This is the header data, right? So it will tell you all these things. So I have performed. I took this post URL. This is my post URL which I took and kept it over here. Now once I perform the post URL, if I try to convert this into JSON, it will give me the error. Why? Because it is not the get, it is the post. In post, you are not going to get something. Like in get, if I perform .json, this one, I will get some data which I get from the API. I am converting that into JSON. I am getting some data. But in post, I am not going to get any data. So if it will give you the error, right? But if you try to print the headers, you will be able to get all this metadata, which is the header information, right? You can convert that response into the text also. You can convert that response into the JSON, but that is only the JSON response of response which you got from that. You will not be able to get any content. See, content length is 0. There is no content, right? If you are having a GET request, you will be having something over here, right? So now there are some parameters. There are two kind of parameters which you have in API. What are the parameters? Parameters are path parameters and something called as query parameters. Query params. Now, what are these path parameters and query parameters? Path parameters are the parameters which are the necessary parameters which you have to pass it in endpoint, like this HTTP API exam, and this is what is the placeholder. Placeholder mein you have the user ID. Like there is a page of users, like this is the page of the users, and in which page of the users I am specifying that I want to go to that specific user ID and I want to check the response for that. Like what is that user ID? Who is that name? What is the gender? What is the email ID? So these are the path parameters, without which endpoint is not defined. You have to give the path parameters. And there is something called as query parameters. Query parameters are kind of filters. Filters means what? That if this is given by the question mark. After the question mark, whatever you have, that is the query parameters. These are the optional. Supposedly, if I want to get the user ID is 123, and that 123 or anything like if I want to get the user data only which is having age greater than 30. That age greater than 30, I can specify it over here. I can write one more condition that gender should be male. I want to get those users only from the backend, which is having age greater than 30 and gender is equal to male. Now these are the optional parameter. It's either the key value, gender, male, age 30. So this is query parameter. These are the optional, right? It's this user age 30, city New York. This will request users who are 30 years old and live in New York, right? So same way, in this case, if you just scroll down, you have something like this where in post request, when you just uh, find out the response, where for every page you have certain, just a minute, let me go to, yeah, uh, yeah. So yeah, so in this, what you can do is you can just take your data, convert it into data frame and get the response, right? So there are some parameters, like these are the query parameters. Page and limit. Total 20 pages are there. From that one page, I want to get only 10 records. So this you can give. So this you will find it on this API, random users. Random users, yes. So this will be having some limit, right? So if I, sorry, This one. Page 1, limit 10. This is the page 1, right? Same way you have page 2 and limit is 20 or 30. So you can also see, like, this is the query parameters which you can pass and path parameters. So query is what? Men watches. Path page is 1, limit is 20. Query is man watches. So this is the optional and this is the compulsory. Now in query, you can have this cat and the path is having some kind of limit, like total 200 pages are there. So if you give 201, it will give you the status code is wrong, like response not get. Anything from that 4xx cases, you will get the response, right? So this also you will be able to get it from this way. So that's what I done. I have given some page and limit. This is the arbitrary value which I have. So it is able to give me the thing which is like, again, you can print the number of objects, the list, the length of the data, and the all the data which you have. Right? So the main thing over here to understand is what are the path parameters and what are the query parameters. So this is a simple API handling using Python. Now this API, simple API using, let's say if I make it using Flask, what is actually happening is if I make it using Flask, it is working with synchronous manner. Synchronous. Any API, normal API, if you make it using Flask or any other framework, they are synchronous in nature. So when I talk about API, suppose you made your model API, machine learning model API, deploy it on which framework is better in Python. Yeah, you can use this fast API. If you want to make a API, you can use this fast API. I'll show you the demo right now. Just wait for a while. Why fast API? I'll tell you. When you let's say you made a API using a Flask and you deploy it in AWS. Now there are two things in the API. First is request and response, which is the through HTTP. So there is one web server which is continuously listening for the client request. So there is one server. Now that server is AWS ka server where we have deployed this API, right? And the request response. So when I talk about Flask API made up using Flask, whenever the request comes, the request will go to the backend. Backend means it will go to this AWS. There is a model which is deployed in terms of API at the AWS. It will find out the response and revert back. Synchronous means one at a time. One request is served at a time. One request served at a time. It's like in restaurant, if you go to the restaurant and if you order some food, right? Now that food, that waiter will go to the kitchen, and the waiter will be there in the kitchen only. That you make a food for this the customers which has come. Once you make, I am over here only. You give me the dish, and then I'll serve, and then I will take the next request. Customers are there in the waiting area. They will be sitting there and just waiting for their orders. That somebody should come and take our order. That is through Flask. That is the disadvantage. Synchronous. That's where fast API will come into the picture. Fast API is working with async await manner. Async await. Important advantage of fast API. That's why it is called as fast. Async means asynchronous manner. Whichever request is served, that will be placed. Like, it's not like first come first serve. the request will come in a concurrent manners, and it will served in concurrent manner. Like it's like that those orders are done, they will be served a food. It's not like that waiter will be there in the kitchen only. The waiter will place the order in the kitchen. It will come again to the restaurant area, take the second order, again place that order. Now, if the second order is made early, it will come up with second one first, and then it will serve the first one, first user request. That is async and await. This is very much important in even agentic AI frameworks. Right? I'll show you uh, in this async functionality. I also implemented in Microsoft AutoGen. Supposedly this is your function. I have kept the sleep timer of 3 seconds for making a coffee. For toast bagel, I kept time sleep for 2 minutes. Now, if I run the normal function, first I'll run start timer, brew coffee, and toast bagel. First, it will is brewing a coffee. Then it will wait for this to complete, and then it will come out. A normal function execution: coffee, bagel, end. But if you use async, I'm using something called as async IO. Now this function is defined as async, means it will run independently. I'm defining this function as async, means it will run independently. Async await. Anything functionality inside it await. The function is defined with async. Now if I run the same code, if you see this is taking 2 minutes, coffee is taking 3 minutes. If I print that, first it will give you bagel ready, and then it will tell you coffee, which is opposite to the conventional function call, right? So this is called as async await, and this is what fast API offers. So in fast API, there is a one server which is they are using, that is ASGI server, which is asynchronous server gateway interface, which is the most important part in fast API. So what it will concurrent request and serving. Whosoever is first, that will be responded first. It's not like first come and first serve. Same way, if I talk about Flask API, Flask, in that you have one server called as WSGI, which is WebSocket Gateway Interface, Web Server Gateway Interface. This is working in a synchronous manner. So when you have the API may you have different thing like server who is listening for the request. In Flask, it is this one which is the synchronous working. Whereas in this case, it is asynchronous. So obviously this is more faster, more performance enhancement will be there in this. User will be happy that they are getting the response fast, right? Okay. So fast API is made up of what? Fast API is made up of, it is made up of two things. Made up on through first is uh, Scarlet I don't know, Scarlet, yes. Scarlet plus Pydantic, right? Fast API is made up on top of these two, Scarlet and Pydantic. Pydantic used in Fast API to data for data validation and parsing, which I just now explained. Scarlet is for HTTP request response in the asynchronous manner, right? So when you see this Fast API, it is made of these two things. Okay. So Scarlet is also one of the very good library which is used responsible for request and response. Pydantic is used for data validation. If you have these two things with in parallel, who can stop you? You are having everything with you, right? Okay. So now I will show you how fast APIs are being made. So this is simple demo of fast API. So in this, what you need to do is, first of all, you have to install three main packages. These are the three main packages you have to install: Fast API, UVCon. So what I told you is that I'm just drawing that for you. You have a front end, you have a back end, and you have a model. You are using Fast API. So between the server, which I told you, in this, the server is named as UVCon server. UVCon is the recommend ASGI server used to run Fast API application. The thing which I told you is ASGI interface, which is a server, is called as UVCon, right? Okay, we are calling it as the UVCon. So UVCon is the recommended ASGI server used to run Fast API application. So what you need to do is you have to install UVCon, Fast API itself as a module, and Pydantic. So this is a server which every time it is in listening mode. When you hit the API, this UVCon has to be reloaded first, right? Pydantic is used for data validation, and you have to install these, right? So that's what I installed first, right? Now see what I'm doing. From Fast API, import Fast API. So this is again a API object which I am going to make, Fast API object. So the object is app. Now here I need to define the root of this app, a Fast API, like endpoint ka root, right? So suppose if I am hitting that API that is at the deployed at the AWS, so I need to define a root of that end from which I am going to get the response. So the response is the request is created through this decorator, which is app object decorator. Okay. So what it will do is, first you have to create the app object root, which is the endpoint root. Once I hit this API, I'm going to get the message called as hello world, right? You can make one more endpoint, and that endpoint is about, that is like about. It's like sorry, uh, Nikunj, uh, and then this is the main URL. This is the home URL or main URL. Endpoint, first endpoint. Now in that, after this, I can make one more endpoint, which is Nikunj and about. So I am making these endpoints through Fast API. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm making these endpoints through Fast API. Okay. So what I'll do is, for running this, what I need to do, I need to follow this command. UVCon, which is my main server, asynchronous gateway server, space the name of the file, which is main, then object of Fast API, which is app, and then reload the server every time with the changes which I am making it over here. supposedly this is commented. This is not there. First, the home page endpoint. Then I add something into it and I want to make it the endpoint for that also, like Nikunj ka about. And in that I'm writing like NIT Jaipur is one of the best. So message, key and value. So it will always return the dictionary. We know that JSON response pass as a part of dictionary in Python. Right? So here I'll write hyphen hyphen reload. Hyphen hyphen reload. Ubicon main app reload. I need to install again, I guess. Or what I should do is I will activate my virtual environment. Yes, virtual environment is activated. Now again same UVCon main app reload. Yes, now it has executed. So the problem was that I did not uh, activated the virtual environment. So always you have to activate first before loading the before executing the code. So I just open this link. Now see, hello world, right? So this is what hello world. Once I hit the endpoint, which is this one, if I just make a small change, if I just write, then also it will be same as this. So this is same as this. Okay, right? There is no change. This URL, that is localhost and port number, forward slash is same as this one. Now here if I write about, because I have made that about endpoint. Now see, NIT Jaipur is one of the best institute and this is what I written over here, right? See, all get request, everything is 200, that is status response. Okay. Now what is one of the very important advantage of fast API? Let me tell you that. If I write here something called as docs, see, now if you don't know what is this hello endpoint which you have defined over here, this what is this endpoint which is the forward slash which is returning this to me. If you don't know this about endpoint, it will tell you everything. So if you give this code to the junior programmer, it will run this fast API application from this VS Code and try to see this docs will automatically making the docs. So it tells it requires the string, right? Try it out, execute. It will tell you everything. Hello world, this is the header. Server is unicorn. Same way, if you are looking for this about, what is this about endpoint? Just expand this. Try it out, execute. It will tell you what is the header, what is the message, what it wants, what is the endpoint of this, and this is what is the request. It is able to make automatically. You don't have to worry about now that if you see API code is very tedious task. If you want to, if you are making an endpoint, API code which you are making in Python, let's say, it's a very tedious task to, it's like a readme kind of thing or documentation. Will tell you everything. What is this all about? Okay. So this is what is your fast API. I hope you are able to get the idea. Is it clear? Is it okay? Okay. So what you can do is you can just uh, make these kind of fast API and right. Thanks. So now we can go to the Streamlit. What is Streamlit? How it works? So I need to put after the endpoint. Yeah, I will share the code. I need to put after the endpoint URL. Yeah, docs is once you run this after that slash this one. Instead of about this localhost 127.0.0.1 7.0.0.1 hyphen or colon a port number, let's say 4000. After this you are writing docs. So it will give you all the endpoints which are actually there in this code. So you don't have to go through the code, you go through the docs. That will give you the idea better. It will automatically make. That is what is the USP of fast API. Now, thank you. Now I will go to Streamlit. So what is Streamlit? If you don't know HTML, CSS also, you can uh, use this GUI, uh, which is very much famous in lightweight application. If you like, if you go for something like Streamlit, so again, what you can do inside, just go through this, it will give you the idea, right? Like you have the GUI like this, pick a number, right? You can have the category like this for which what you need to run. This is a slider, so you have something like slider, right? This is a bar chart, you have something like bar chart. You can have a radio button, right? You can have a file uploader. You have this date time selector, everything you have, right? Most importantly, Streamlit count. So what you can do is, what I suggest generally that supposedly you make a code, any application code, right? You make an application, that code you push to GitHub. Connect this GitHub with Streamlit Cloud. Right? So your code can be directly interfaced with the Streamlit Cloud and get the GUI over here. Your code GUI, you can get it over here. Then you can pass any input and get the response. Right? This is what I suggest. You will get the better functionality. Like you can see how your code is there and how it works. Okay. So let's see the functionality again. Go to the documentation, docs. Right. Now here you have everything. Like suppose if I go to this API reference, you have all these things which are possible. So we'll see some of them in this session. So what you need to do first is import Streamlit as ST. Now here you can give the title. Now what you do is you try to go through these elements, right? And try to see what is there inside what it offers you. Supposedly if I go to write and magic, this will give you the methods. st.title, text elements, st.title. If you want to give a title, so st.title, my demo website, right? You can pass on some headers, right? Then subheader. So just go to this, it will tell you what are the inside arguments. Okay. So body and everything, like what are the important argument, but here like just we need to pass the subheader. What is that name of the subheader? st.text, simple text, which you if you want to pass, right? st.text, right? Right. Then you can also pass markdown heading. You know markdown. Like in this, we have a markdown cell, markdown headings. So you can make a list of that. You can make a markdown or you can make a list of markdown, right? If you want to write the latex formula, like you, if you want to write math formula, you can write in something called latex. Latex. String or expression to displays latex. It's a good idea to use raw Python strings since latex use backslashes a lot, right? The example is also given. Like if I want to write this formula, math formula, this one, you can just write it like this. R string and then you have this. Like F string, we have R string and then you write this. Okay. So this is how I've written some variance formula. Then code. It's like you go in chat GPT and how it looks like. See how it looks like. This is how GUI, right? Same way. You have something like this. st.code, inside which I have written a as integer, b as integer, return a plus b. You can find out over here. st.code, right? Okay. So again, in Markdown, you can write down this code. So these all in Markdown. If you see this is in Markdown, right? If you copy and paste somewhere, it will be showing it in Markdown. right? And write is actually magic method. Suppose uh, if you want to treat anything inside this as the respective category, suppose if I want to make it markdown, but I have not provided markdown, I am writing it in write, it will automatically take it in markdown. Or if I want to make it a code, I write it in terms of code, it will take a in terms of, it's like a pydantic, it does the implicit time conversion. Same way this write of the streamlit will take the data as you want. You don't have to even specify. Okay, I want in markdown format. I want it. I don't. I want it in code format. I want it in latex format. I want it in text format. We'll take it accordingly, right? So if I want to run this, so I'll write streamlit run and app.py. Okay, again I need to activate, or I can directly run from this what I'm getting. Yeah, streamlit run uh, one dot app.py. Yeah. So once you hit the enter, you will get the GUI. See now, my demo website, my demo website. This is the title, header, smartphone analysis tool, right? Subheader, this is sample text, add text, right? Then markdown heading, the markdown heading. Then inside which you are making something markdown list, brands, Apple, Samsung, Oppo. So brands, whenever you write this double asterisk, then means that you are making it in bold. And then inside which you have a category, Apple, Samsung, Oppo. Then you have this formula in latex, right? And this is how, this is a code, this is a markdown, and this is a write. Same thing which I am passing in all three. So see what it is giving, copy code, copy to clipboard. How it was giving me in ChatGPT, copy to clipboard, copy to clipboard, right? So this is how, like, it's a simple, you just explore this directly, okay, right? Now supposedly, uh, if I change something like this, A plus C, now it will say source file changed. My server is running, Streamlit server is running, source file changed, rerun, always rerun, deploy. So I need to click on always rerun. Now see A plus C. Now whatever changes I will make, let's say here it is A plus C, I will change over here. I'll make again B. It is directly reflected because I selected always rerun, right? So your server is always running in backend. Just you have to, whatever change you are making, it will directly reflected over here. That is what is the beauty of Streamlit. Okay. Now, if you want to stop this server, Control C. So it will stop this server. I can just close this. Now, next is that this is like a simple analysis, uh, chart or plots if you want to plot it inside this Streamlit, right? So what I've done is I have taken one. Supposedly, this is all things which I have already given. I can pass sample dictionary, right? And that sample dictionary I'm converting it into JSON, and I can also see that dictionary over here. So inside, like I'm till now I was making some text or numbers. I was taking that. But here you can consider that this is what is the dictionary this is a response of JSON API. Uh, let's complete this and then we'll the response which you get from the API. You hit the API and we are getting some JSON reply and we are passing it into the JSON formatter. Like I did it in the case of when I was explaining you the collab in which I was explaining you some API. So it's like that only. You have this dictionary which you got as a reply of the API, and then we are displaying that reply into Streamlit. We know JSON reply is always displayed in terms of dictionary. Okay, so this is a key value format. You can display like st.json. So here also like you can have that thing that what can you can do or what you can apply. You are displaying it in terms of JSON, right? So just find out from where this is, and then you can plot. Supposedly, I took one data set which is smartphone.csv. This is one file which is about the smartphone. I can show you this. This is the data set. Now I'm trying to import CSV file into it. So here are the models, then price, rating, same processor. Now I want to have a graph of any categorical column. Let's say column is card column, or I want any categorical column plot I want to have or chart, right? So what I can do is I can just pass this function and I can get the chart. How I can get the chart? You just pass this column which you want to get the uh, analysis. So I'm using count plot, right? And the library which I'm using is pyplot for drawing that figure. Okay, it will count the categories, how many categories for individual, and then it will plot. That's what is the ultimate objective. So if I run this Streamlit and then 2.main.py. Sorry, Streamlit run 2.main.py. So you can run lightweight applications on this. You cannot run heavyweight applications on Streamlit. Yeah. See, this is value count for categorical column. Just find out like this is the data set which I've used. This is the dictionary, see, which I was trying to print in the JSON form. This one, right? This is the dictionary. And this is the plot for the categorical column. Pie chart and count plot. These two are being plotted. It's a like a histogram. Count plot is like a histogram. And this is what is the chart. For how many, what is the frequency of occurrence of each? Okay. See, lightweight means supposedly there are lot many things inside this lightweight. It is like not a simple definition. A lightweight means anything like only it comes with the first is input is your data, right? Data size, like if you see Chat GPT or Olama, which is having number of models inside it, billions parameters. You must have observed in Olama what kind of parameters which it is having, or Hugging Face. They are already having the size of those models, right? Right. Say size. These are the parameters, weights and biases. Now, first, obviously, concern is with respect to this, because let's say you use ChatGPT ka web API or mobile API, mobile version of ChatGPT. Everywhere it comes that you are going to hit the backend, which is having biggest training data sets, biggest training data, right? So that also depend, right? What kind of architecture you are using, right? That whole application architecture, that also depend. Like if you use if you are going to have a request from lakhs of users, like I will show you, like if you have any API which is being accessed by lakhs of users, you cannot run on the local, right? You have something which is very big, you require a heavyweight GUI, right? So where you have number of requests, number of users in terms of API, you have number of data, right? Everything depends where you are deploying, which cloud, right? So cloud is okay, okay, but in terms of the backend resources which you are using and the number of requests you are going to handle, that makes the difference in case of lightweight and heavyweight. If you are using any edge computing device, or if you are having a server which is edge server, local server, where you are only limited with some amount of user request, then you can have a lightweight GUI that will handle this case. Okay, so that is how you can differentiate. I hope you are clear with this. These are the only the two things. Like there are many things which comes inside this. This is what is third, and third is interactive. Interactive means widgets, input widgets, button, link, checkbox, feedback, radio button. All this comes in the interactive part. So here what I'm trying is the title is interactive elements. Label, let's say first category is button. So when we write button and then we write is a magic method which we know. We directly take and it identify what we are trying to find make. It's a button object. If button is clicked, it will show button was pressed. Right. Then checkbox. Checkbox is it's like simply ticking out the options, and once you click that, it will the label of it is display plot. So you can again use the right method. Okay. Then you have a radio button. Now radio button, there are let's say three options I'm giving. Option one, option two, option three. So let me run this first, so you can get the better idea. Hmm. So first thing is the button, which is click me, right? So just say click, it will set true. If I do, so you cannot toggle this now. Once I applied the click, whatever the status was there, that will be toggled at one time. Now it will not be able to. So if I click the button, it will set the true. That's it. And it will say button was pressed. Okay. Then you have a checkbox which is having the title display plot. Right. So if I click, unclick, false, click, true. This is now toggled. You can toggle this checkbox. Okay. Now this is what is the radio button. Then radio button, you have three options: option 1, option 2, option 3. Option 1, option 2, option 3. Option 1, if I select, it will display over here option 1. If I select option 2, it will display here option 2. Now in option 3, I have passed the dictionary. See, option 3, I am passing one dictionary. If radio button is option 3, select this dictionary, which is my JSON object, which I got from the API. Supposedly, I got this from the API response. I'm putting it inside the option, and that I am passing in the JSON when I clicked on option 3. Okay. So if I click on option 3, this will display my dictionary. You can pass altogether the whole dictionary in one radio button, and you can display, right? Then select box. So in select from the category like apple, banana, cherry, the title is select fruit. So this is select fruit, and which is the category of this box. So this is select box. Just I can select. We have three category. I can select, let's say apple. So it will select apple. This index is equal to 1 means by default what is the printed? This is index 0, this is index 1, this is index 2. By default there is no option, it will go to index 1, which is banana. So first time run you will go to, you will get the banana. Then you have multi-select box. Multi-select box means you have multiple with you, like here. Select cities. Now choose an option. These are the four options. Supposedly I select Surat. Dictionary, it will start taking the data. Then second option is Ahmedabad. So it will start taking the option Ahmedabad. So that is what just it will take the one by one, put it inside the dictionary. Okay. So you can multi-select. So at last you can gather what kind of options you have selected. Multi-select options is there. Slider. Slider means you can select any value from the options given using slider. So suppose I select a number, I slide it. Hmm. So this is how I slide. There are only three options: A, B, and C. Okay. There are only three options. So you can pass string, integer, whatever you want. This is a slider to select the number. Right. That is a select slider. Now you can give a range also. Range is minimum value of the slider will be 1, maximum value of the slider will be 20. In steps of 2, it will increment once you uh, keep the slider moving. And values, by default values, when you first time you and 7, it will be between 5 and 7. See this. By default, it is between 5 and 7. Now, if I move this, it is in steps of 2, it is incrementing. Right. So this is how it goes on. It's a Here you need to pass only integer. You cannot pass any character or something like this because range of values. Right. Enter here you can give number input. Minimum value is 0, maximum value is 100. And you can add, you can have help like option also where you can describe what you have to do. So enter a number. Supposedly, if I write and then plus 2, 3, 4, that is also possible. Okay, you can give date input in this format. Select a date. So this is what is date selection. It will show format YYMMDD. Text input, you can enter your name, right? So you can enter over here and you can increase and decrease the area also. So here you can write big sentence. That's why we have used area. Multi-text input. Basically, you know, ChatGPT, any LLM. This is where you can give multi-line input, prompting, right? That is what it is. When you give big prompt to LLM, this is how it's this, right? So this is the basic functionality. Now I will show you how ML model you can use it with Streamlit. So I am having this classification.py. Uh, and this classification is on iris dataset. So iris dataset is on which I am performing random forest classifier, right? So random forest classifier, if I perform, you know, iris dataset, Setosa, versicolor, virginica. There are three classifications in it, right? So I apply Streamlit on top of it. Like I just, what I'm trying to do is, so I'm giving these four features: sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width. Right. I am applying the model predict. You must have gone through this ML model, right? So if I apply the predict, if I hit this predict, what I'm trying to get is Streamlit run classification.py. So this is the simplest GUI of Iris data. Now you just have to move the values. Currently the classification, it is telling you Setosa, right? If I just move, it will again, it will change the value to Virginica, right? See Virginica. It is a balanced data set, if you know, Iris data set. So in this, just you move the values, fuzzy color. Virginica turns into fuzzy color. So simple. Just you have to do what? You first load the data, get the data frame, Iris dataset. You can directly load it from scikit-learn because it is already there in the scikit-learn set. Load the dataset, get the target on the y label, get the training data on x, label in y, apply random forest classifier, instantiate that model object, apply it on species is your target, and this is what the sliders that you are making in Streamlit for each and every features: sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width. Just give the sidebar slider, and what kind of value it will take, that also you have to specify, float value. Okay, minimum is what, maximum is what is the maximum value of, minimum value of this, that also you have to specify. So this is your input data. prediction, you apply the prediction, get the target names, and then you write it in prediction. So here it will write that whatever is the prediction which you get it from the model. So this is, you can say that this is deployed as a API at somewhere cloud, right? You give this input from GUI, it will hit the backend model, which is random forest model, right? Random classifier, which is at the backend API, this one, right? So this will give you the prediction. Okay, right? So this is like a small ML case where you apply some simple ML model on the data set and get the GUI of that. I hope you are able to understand. Is it okay till now? Okay, okay. Thanks for the feedback. Now I'll show you some of the projects demo which I made using Streamlit. So this is actually I made. I know, there is one act which is coming, maybe regulated soon or already regulated, DPDP. So I was making one product, AI based product of DPDP. I was making a consent management platform, CMP platform. So for which I done the code in VS Code and apply all this. Uh, yes, it has come. Yes, but I don't know how much time it will take to completely regulate, and 250 crores plus penalty when they will get imposed once you violate the consent platform, consent validation, consent. So here I was trying to make like you just give the text and like suppose you have a data set, uploaded the data set of this. Now you can see that here I am having consent text in the data set. What is the type of the consent? Like I agree to receive marketing notification. Marketing is the consent type. Date of the consent, like when you have given the consent, on which date, and what is the risk category of that consent. Marketing notification, low risk. That is also AI model is doing at the backend. Score it is generating, that is also AI model which is then doing at the backend. Now I am giving text data. This was the training data. This is the test data. I agree to receive newsletter from your company. Predicted risk is medium. Risk category is medium risk. Right? It's a simple. Uh, we are trying to make a product which is helpful as a part of consent management platform. Now this is where suppose somebody wants to know about the DPDP, because nobody knows what DP when it was, like what is that act is about. Let's say I'm a beginner. So generally, if you ask ChatGPT about DPDP, if it is not there in the training data set of ChatGPT, ChatGPT will get hallucinate, right? And it will give false answer until and unless you give a prompt that don't give the answer if you don't know. System prompt, right? So but I want to learn about DPDP as an individual. So I make a rag of this where I downloaded the gazette of DPDP from the Ministry of Indian government website, where it is a gazetted document which I take it as a PDF. I kept it in my code as an external source, and I was asking a question through my this panel, which is again Streamlit GUI, and anything about DPDP, it will tell me the answer. RAG is retrieval augmented generation. That's what I told you. That supposedly ChatGPT does not have the latest data. Suppose if you ask that what is the policy of your company in which you are working, let's say you are working in Microsoft, you don't have a leave policy, you have a leave policy. Right now, if I ask ChatGPT ki what is Microsoft ka leave policy, Microsoft will not be able to give you because it is not. Sorry, my bad. If I ask ChatGPT what is the Microsoft leave policy, ChatGPT does not have that answer because ChatGPT does not have that data in it. Training में. Training does not in ChatGPT it does not have the data of leave policy of Microsoft. So what you can do is you can impose some external sources to get the answer. You give you the answer, and that is also correct answer, not hallucination. Sometimes you see that ChatGPT give you the wrong answer because at that time it gets hallucinated because it does not have the proper answer, uh, because it does not have the proper training or fine tuning. Okay, so RAG is like that you give any external data, which is document, PDF, document, APIs, which itself in the code. So it will hit that and try to get the answer from that only. It will not go somewhere else. RAG is that pop-up feature. I guess right now Gemini has come up with inbuilt RAG. Now everybody was making a RAG. Now Gemini has come up with its own RAG. Building 1 week ago, right? This is a RAG. File source tool in Gemini API. Your use Vertex A RAG engine in Gemini Live API. Right? Just go through this developer document. Till now, every company were making their own RAG because they want to make it proprietary and make it confidential. RAG, why we use RAG? Whenever ChatGPT does not have the data, why you want to give the data to ChatGPT? Why you want to give your policy or company data to ChatGPT? Otherwise, it will become public. Make it a RAG. Make a RAG tool. Okay. So I took the DPDP document, put it inside the external database. I'm asking a question and it has to give me the answer from that document only. And for which I am using Grok API. I hope you are aware about Grok models. ट्विटर का जो ट्विटर के ऊपर बैठा हुआ है वो Grok, Elon Musk. Okay, and you have Face, which is having all the open source models. Hugging Face I was using for text, and Grok as the LLM, right? So you have almost I guess you know how many models you have. You have a language LLM, large language models, which is simple. It is doing a task of summarize. You give a paragraph, it will summarize, right? Then there are something called as chat models, which you use now, with which you can talk also. Here it will only summarize or give the question ka answer. Here chat models means you can talk with, it will give you suggestion, it will do it for you. Here also from this there is a concept of agent comes. Agent will not answer, agent will do the work for you. Chat models. And third one is embedding models. Embedding means what? All this information is in terms of text. This information in terms of text. So you need something called as database, vector DB, in which all the text data which you have given to ChatGPT as a part training will be stored in terms of numerical vectors, numbers, arrays. So whatever query you give, first embedding will be performed. and that embedding will be stored in one database. Now, whenever you ask the new question, let's say your prompt, right? That prompt will be first text embedding will be performed for that prompt, and you have already data available with you at the backend. It will find out, it will go to that vector database, find out the similar text, and give you as the context. That is called a context. That context and this user prompt will get combined and go to the LLM, and it will give you the answer. Right? This is the whole process. This is called as retrieving something from the database. Now, what is there in the R cases? It is already a PDF, DP PDF. So, supposedly, if I ask the question, what is DPDP bill or DPDP law? First of all, that text is converted into numbers. Those numbers and the numbers which are already there in the database, the DPDP gazetted document ka embedding vectors will be compared, and it will be given to the LLM. LLM will find out the similarity between these two using something called as cosine similarity. Let's a simple approach. That is the math based approach, cosine similarity. And then it will give you the output. The output will be based on your user prompt and the context which it has derived from the retrieval object. Retrieving something, that is retrieval. And it will give you the answer. So more similar numbers will be like a more similar text. So somewhere, let's say in database, it is written what is DPDP. DPDP is the bill which is initiated by Indian Home Ministry and Ministry of IT and Communication. It was formed in 2023. That line it will give you over here because your prompt is like that. What is DPDP? I hope you are getting my point. What? It is a very overview. Is it okay? Yes or no? So here I am performing document similarity search, and it is giving me the answer with most similar question answer. This is what is the answer, and I'm also able to find from where it has taken this answer, like from whole PDF of the DPDP, from where it has fetched that answer and give it to me. Right? This is also I made it in Streamlit. This is again text risk analyzer. It will give you the risk score. So yeah, this is how like you can use different models, but everything you can just. So here I have used NVIDIA name model, and then in that Llama 3 instruct. This is all applications of RAG with different models, right? So Streamlit is that much important, and see how fast development is coming up. Now RAG has been also built by Gemini, right? Just you hit the API and get the RAG done. You just have to, you don't have to make the model again. I made a big codes for it, right? So the big codes which I made in this, and that is also like RAG applications are very like this NVIDIA and NIM main. This is the app.py. I used OpenAI model. Right. So all these, like, this is very much an LangChain framework I used to connect this NVIDIA model with LangChain. LangChain is the uh, platform which helps you to get the functionality of each and every model. You can just use this LangChain to get the help from every other model. You can use it over here. Right. So it is supporting NVIDIA, it is supporting Grok, it is supporting ChatGPT, everything. Okay. So this is all about generative AI. Generative AI main, if you're planning to learn generative AI, you have to start learning first LangChain. Okay. So generative AI roadmap is very much simple. Right? If you are planning to learn, go into the field of Gen AI, the discriminative AI and generative AI. Discriminative AI is all about ML and DA, ML or any forecasting prediction, classification. Gen AI is content creation. Right. So in Gen AI, if you're planning to work with Gen AI, or if you're learning this Gen AI, if you are uh, keen to learn this field of Gen AI and then agentic AI, then you have to first know about NLP, natural language processing. You have several basic method. What is the other one? Gen AI and agentic AI. Gen AI and agentic AI. The initial one, discriminative AI. There are two main fields: discriminative AI and generative AI. MLDL, ML or all the prediction part comes in the discriminative AI. Content creation से लेके chatbot से लेके everything. Making a simple agent, chatbot, simple chatbot. Yeah, discriminative AI. Simple chatbot. Simple chatbot is again application of Gen AI. Okay. But if you have a team of agents or swarm of agents, then it comes under the umbrella of agent. So to start learn about Gen AI, what you need to know is you have to know first NLP. NLP, there are some text neural networks that you should know. Text-based neural network like RNN, LSTM, long-term memory. Then it comes a transformer. Then inside which we have something called as BERT. These are your text-based models, which will generate the embeddings of the text. Embeddings means converting your text into numbers. You should know how to convert your text into numbers, and all these neural networks are used for converting text into numbers. Now all these are generating static embedding. Static means, suppose if I say money bank and river bank, money, the bank is with respect to what? In first case it is money bank, and second case is a river bank. With respect to what we are saying, we are targeting, right? How to know that bank with respect to what? That's where the dynamic embedding comes into the picture. That's where we have OpenAI embeddings. We have meta embeddings, OpenAI, Grok, all the Hugging Face models. All these are dynamic embedding. So you have to first, after learning this text embedding, text static embedding, you have to go to dynamic embedding, for which you should know about how to convert your text into numbers. Right. So this is the next case. Once you know this up to this embedding models, dynamic embedding models, so that also comprises of something attention mechanism. Attention. There are different types of attention. This paper you read. Self-attention is all you need. This is a basic paper. If you don't know this paper, you don't know Gen AI. This is the very basic paper. From this, the story starts for the Gen AI, right? So attention mechanism you should know. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I am sharing it with you. This is the basic main paper, right? So you read this, understand it line by line. It's not like understand it at very core level because it is very tedious. Understanding neural network is very tedious job. So that will be your this one. Once you know about all these things, you can start learning some agentic AI agent framework which is offering you making an agent. So in that first is LangChain. LangChain is the framework where you can perform, you can use multiple models and integrate onto the one platform. Any LLM, any LLM which is chat model, any embedding model also which I was talking about, OpenAI or Croc or Mistral or whatever it is. That also it will be giving you. Just understand about LangChain. LangChain, after that, LangChain is having limitation, like it is always supporting sequential workflow. Like somewhere you have to break the and go back to suppose chat GPT, you ask some question and it will give you some response. Many times it will ask you response one, response two. Then you select response one. And then you say no, just do certain changes in this. So it has to go back. That's where you have lang graph will come into the picture. LangChain will not support parallel orchestration work. LangGraph will support parallel orchestration workflow. So go to the LangGraph after learning LangChain. After LangGraph, then you have multi-agent framework like Crew AI, right? Microsoft AutoGen, which is my favorite. I prefer Microsoft other than uh, over anything else. Microsoft are the standardized frameworks, right? So Microsoft AutoGen is also. Now you have an agent idea that how to make an agent using LangChain or LangGraph. Now you make a team of agents using multi-agent framework, for which you have Crew AI, AutoGen. So that's where the story currently it is stopped. That if you know this much, you are good to go. You can make any application through agentic AI. Then there is one more thing which is very much now coming into the picture because of this Gemini, agentic RAG. So LangChain, while learning LangChain, you can learn RAG also, which I shown you, DPDP. But agentic RAG is again different, where you multiple external sources, which agent will trigger which source that is done dynamically. It should hit it should hit API, it should hit any external sources that will be decided by agent, not the human. That is agentic RAG. Okay. So that is the newer one. So this is how like there's very big channel and the flow should be proper, mentor should be proper, and the resources from you learn should be proper. Then and only then you'll be able to digest one by one. So yeah, that's where I end. Uh, it is very it's changing very fast. Every day we have something new. and maybe after a week you will be observing. Chat GPT is having some context length, response context length. Maybe Mark Zuckerberg will come in next week and it will tell you that uh, the context length is unlimited now, because it is able to remember everything you give as a part of state. Till now, it is able to remember something, some million tokens. But after next week, Mark Zuckerberg will tell, I am having a technology which will be a completely unlimited token state, it will be able to remember. So that is what new technology. Yeah, I will share to Dinesh sir and he will share it with you.
Okay, Nikun sir,
Thank
I
you, sir.
think it will be time to wind up this session. And
Yes, sir.
very
Thank you.
thank you for your important session, which will be much more useful for the participant, because most of participants are majority of them are only from our researcher, especially faculties, and they are involved in the different kind of research activity which are related to the generation of AI and ML. And I hope that today is the too much material to take away, which are going to be much more useful in our career prospectus as well as the for further research purpose. So once again, I am thankful, Dr. Nikun sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for inviting me, and thank you all the participants for listening me patiently throughout this 4 hours.
Okay, definitely they are much more. We are required to be thankful to them. Okay, okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so now there is one announcement I want to share with you, participant. Definitely, we will get all the material to be shared with you. As soon as I will get it from Dr. Nikunj, I will just upload it on the canvas. Fine. Now, one thing I would like to share to all the participants, I have sent you the mail. That mail contain your details such as name, institute or organization, as well as your institute name. So you are requested to cross verify your details. These details we will use to generate your certificate for this FDP course. So to avoid any kind of mistakes, spelling mistakes, maybe name or institute name, whatever you want to be make any corrections, you should reply with that mail, not to all. You just reply to FDP Academy, and then you could write whatever the details you want to write in place of the shared content. Okay. And second important concern is that I have shared the quiz. So I will also share another quiz tomorrow early morning, in the morning 6 o'clock. And you all requested to you have to attempt all these three quizzes. Okay, might be possible that some of the sessions you have been missed because of your own earlier busy schedules. We respect that. However, this quiz you should attempt. Okay, so that I will also share it, and sufficient time we will provide you. Attempt it. It does not matter how much marks we are getting, but the way this quiz is there, I know that the way you are listening sincerely, you are able to get a excellent in those quiz marks. Okay, but marks does not matter. Only we want that you should able to verify that whatever we are going to be provide you as a sessions, whether you are able to take it back or not. So please you attempt all those quizzes, attempt it at least, and if required, I may try to make it one day extra to be open day after tomorrow, where all other